chemistry is off the chain. It's perfect now, but will it change? This ain't a yes, this ain't a no. Just do your thing, we'll see how it goes. Rush it, don't succeed.
Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the Table Talk. I'm Bob Colbert, your host of the Table Talk podcast. Today, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Sorry about that. Today, we're going to be talking about the new bill that's passed in California that raises the minimum wage for workers to $20 per hour for fast food workers only, but we all know that that'll increase the prices for everybody, and then of course everybody will be wanting to get $20 an hour to work. So it's like a cycle, and there won't be stopping it. So I think, my opinion, what I think is going to happen is the prices will rise to the point where people can't live in the state of California because of such the high prices that they'll be moving out, and businesses will close. So I'll put the headline on it. So as of April the 1st, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, signed the bill into law, a new law that gives $20 per hour minimum wage for the fast food worker. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about how it affects. So let's go to the video and we'll get started. This is about, looks like about a minute and 39 seconds.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law Thursday that would increase the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour. When it takes effect on April 1st, the workers will have one of the highest minimum wages in the country. It would apply to workers at restaurants that have at least 60 locations nationwide, with an exception for restaurants that make and sell their own bread, such as Panera Bread.
A state that prides itself not only being on the leading cutting edge, but we recognize businesses cannot thrive in a world that's failing.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, California's fast food workers currently earn an average of $16.60 per hour, or just over $34,000 per year. The state's minimum wage for all other workers, $15.50 per hour, is already among the highest in the United States. Newsom's signature on Thursday reflects the power and influence of labor unions in the nation's most populous state, which have worked to organize fast food workers in an attempt to improve their wages and working conditions. The law also creates a fast food council that has the power to increase that wage by 3.5% each year through 2029, or the change in averages for the U.S. Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, whichever is lower. But critics warn that fast food prices would increase to pay their employees and overall increase the cost of living in California. Lawmakers passed a separate bill earlier this month that would gradually raise the minimum wage for healthcare workers to $25 per hour over the next decade. That raise wouldn't apply to doctors and nurses, but to others who work at hospitals, dialysis clinics, or other healthcare facilities.
The minimum wage is taking a big jump to $20 an hour for fast food workers employed by big chains here in California. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto. Marcella Lee is off tonight.
I'm Jesse Pagan. While supporters say the move is a long time coming, others say this new law could end up hurting many of the workers it's intended to help. CBS 8's Richard Allen digs into this from both sides.
And this major boost to fast food workers' minimum wage here in California is set to take effect in April. But already some fast food chains like Pizza Hut are responding by cutting jobs.
At first I was more like, really? After I leave, they decide to do this?
San Diegan Noah Davidson Mendiola recently quit his job as a shift worker at McDonald's. He's in full support of this move to raise fast food workers' minimum hourly wage to $20 an hour.
I'm both happy because the fast food workers really don't get paid enough to deal with a lot of the situations. But it's also like, come on, you should have done this a long time ago.
And while this pay hike applies to fast food businesses with more than 60 locations nationwide, some analysts believe it will spur other businesses to follow suit.
Everyone else has to match, right? Because if you can work at McDonald's or Starbucks for $20 an hour, why would you stay at the kitchen at Olive Garden or even at Walmart?
But not everyone sees this particular move targeting fast food chains as the right one.
I wouldn't say I'm particularly in favor of it, but I understand at the same time that a lot of these people just can't afford to live here.
Dale Young is a retired small business owner. He believes more needs to be done to stabilize the overall economy and not just this particular sector of the labor pool.
It's a Band-Aid. I mean, when is it going to stop? I mean, is next year they're going to raise it to $25 an hour?
He also points out that this mandatory pay increase will force some businesses to cut jobs to maintain their bottom line. Case in point, Pizza Hut, which has announced it will lay off more than 1,200 delivery drivers at hundreds of franchises across the state before this new law takes effect. Its parent company recently told Business Insider our franchisees independently own and operate their restaurants in accordance with local market dynamics and comply with all federal, state, and local regulations, while continuing to provide quality service and food to our customers via carryout and delivery.
And for more information on this and other new laws that are taking effect here in California in 2024, just go to cbsa.com.
All right. I credit CBS Channel 8, San Diego for that video and the previous one. Was ABC News 7 in East Bay Area. All right, so let's talk about this. New $20 minimum wage per hour, fast food workers only. So they targeted a particular industry, knowing that it was a low-paying industry. And granted, I understand that. $34,000 is not a livable wage for anyone, especially in California. But going forward, the problem is here is if you look at the overall economy, here's what will happen. So the fast food workers will now be paid $20 per hour. The first thing that will happen is prices will pretty much increase immediately because they've already have been through a lot since the pandemic happened, even before them, that have raised their prices. To give you an example, when I came here to California about 10 years ago, I was paying $3.23 for a McDonald's sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit, which I love. That's some good stuff. And so today, 10 years later, I'm paying $7.38 for the same item. And now it's estimated that the price of the same sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit in short order will go up to about $9. Now, we're talking about a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit being almost coming up pretty close to $10. And that's just for one item. If you add a Coke or hash browns or something, you're easily talking 30 for two people. You're not buying it just usually for yourself, your wife or your kids or stuff. A typical order at McDonald's or Burger King or wherever could easily reach $30 to $40 for that meal or that transaction. It used to be you could go to a high-end restaurant, Olive Garden or BJ's or Red Lobster, or and even higher end states, and you would typically pay $40, $50 a meal. But then you've got the commission on top, basically a tip, and you're easily coming out of there $60. Then typically you would just go over and watch a movie flick at the local theater, and that's approaching here in California about $15, $20 a ticket there for each family member. You're easily talking laying out a pretty good bit of dough for just living. And although there's nothing wrong with that, if you add on top of that all of the typical things that we're paying for, usually you have a car payment, a house payment, gas here in California currently is $5.09, and could easily go up to $7 again per gallon. Cost of cars have skyrocketed. What it will drive is if people are making $20 an hour, the higher end worker, engineers, lawyers, doctors, and others, they will demand equal rises. So what you're getting is a highly inflationary environment that will continue. Now, in this particular case, this law has a food council that has the authority to increase the minimum wage every year 3.5%. And in California, they will do that. So you're constantly aggravating this situation. At some point, and it depends on each person, they have a right to continue as is. Don't worry about it. It's just part of life. Go with the flow. Or at some point, you get to a point where you can't handle it, and either you leave the state of California, or businesses will shutter, or automation happens. Well, let's talk about the automation. We are coming up on a new era in technology with artificial intelligence and robotics. And I've already seen McDonald's start the process, and some other restaurants in California to automate. So basically, the amount of human workers that are working is just very few. And they're not serving in facility anymore. You can't go in there and eat. It's basically an automated work environment, and no humans, no delivery drivers other than Uber or whatever, DoorDash. So at some point, the people that were benefiting from the $20 per hour are going to lose their job to automation. And that's going to happen now in California, increasingly, starting April 1st. It's already happening. So at some point, human workers are going to be driven out of the workforce. How are they going to make money then? Typically, what the process would have been in days gone by was the minimum wage was to serve a teenage child that was just starting to get into the workforce typically would work at a grocery store or a fast food facility or lifeguard, whatever. And they were doing it part-time just to get a little money, maybe to buy an old jalopy car or, for just some spending money. But it gets them into the workforce. But increasingly what we're seeing is that the fast food worker are workers that are full-time or close to it, maybe working multiple jobs, part-time jobs, in order to live, which I totally get. $34,000 at $16.50 an hour. That's what you would get. That's wholly unacceptable. Nobody can live off of that, especially in California. But this is a self-fulfilling prophecy that will ultimately happen. That's it's kind of like a circular argument. You raise the prices are too high now. People demand more money, so they get the more money, and then the prices rise again. And then people are dissatisfied, and it just keeps going around and round and round until what are we going to do? Pay $50 an hour, $100 an hour? At some point, it's got to stop. Nobody would be eating, and I don't know what you do then. So let's talk a little bit about, I'll do a little reading here. And so how many people are we talking? We're talking 500,000 California workers will start getting minimum wage, $20 an hour, starting April 1st. Okay, and you would typically see that this is for fast food workers. So some 500,000, some 500,000 workers in California are getting a big bump in pay. The state's minimum wage for fast food employees jumps to $20 an hour on Monday, giving many a raise of 25% from just last week. The law affects some of the biggest restaurant chains. Excuse me. McDonald's, Pizza Hut, KFC, Subway, Starbucks. Local franchisees have raised alarms about the increased labor costs. Fast food jobs are among the lowest paying in the U.S. economy, where wages have been growing in recent years after stagnating for decades. The workers in the fast food are often women, immigrants, people of color. Many live below the poverty line. And a McDonald's worker, her name's Jaylene Libet from Los Angeles, points out that California is among the most expensive states in the country, and her city is one of the priciest in the state. Plus, inflation has meant higher costs of food and bills. And even though it's a big help, people need to realize that $20 compared to the cost of living is still not enough to feel secure, says Libet, 25 years old, who's worked at McDonald's for 6 years. And she shares a one-bedroom apartment with her parents who deal with medical issues. And ideally, Libet hopes to use her raise to start saving toward a bigger home, or at least lessening the stress over expenses. And it gives her a little bit more wiggle room. And then California's minimum wage for jobs outside the fast food industry remains at $16 an hour. Though it's higher in some cities and counties, employers paying under $20 an hour will likely face stiffer competition for workers. So, if McDonald's employee is making $20 an hour, what about the Walmart employee? The Walmart employee is immediately going to quit their job and go start working at McDonald's or in the fast food to get the $20 an hour. But then what's going to happen is there's only, with the automation that will be coming, there won't be a job there, and Walmart will be forced, because of loss of employees, to have to raise their prices $20. So it's a ever circular increase for pricer and pricer. So the first impact that's already started is delivery drivers lose jobs as the smoothies are pricier. So it said California restaurant chain owners and franchisees say that labor costs will force them to raise prices, add automation, cut workers' hours, or even close shop. In December, Pizza Hut franchisees laid off hundreds of delivery drivers ahead of the wage hike and switched to apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash, which pushes more delivered foods onto their customers. Yeah. Let's see. This rule applies to fast food chains with at least 60 locations countrywide, worldwide, or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be 60 locations in California. It could be any state. California's pay hike is a result of the contentious deal struck by labor leaders, including the large services employees international union and fast food companies. Yeah. Now here's get this. The new wage law applies to fast food chains with at least 60 employees nationwide, with the exemptions for some bakeries and smaller outposts inside grocery stores, airports, and other venues that make bread. Yeah. So, I'm an engineer. I make a pretty good salary, and I am able to kind of stay ahead I guess, the inflationary bear as best as I can. But even in my life, I have curtailed a lot of things. I'm not buying new cars. They're way too expensive. I only buy a 3-year-old car or later or older. And so I've done that, and I have curtailed a lot of my going out to movies. And there's a variety of reasons. There was the pandemic. Movies just don't really appeal to me like they did in the past. I'm getting older, and I'm kind of a homebody type person, and just rather stay home and things like that. But still, my participation in the economy to help others by buying their products, it's gone way down. Plus, in California, the crime rate has increased significantly. All of these people going in there and stealing, shoplifting, and things like that, it's become unsafe. Now, that can be controlled over time, but then we have very liberal laws, progressives in California, who, when people do commit crimes, they don't get charged, they get released, and nothing happens to them. So, there's a cancer growing in California, as well as our country in general, as well as the world. So, I mean, one of the main things that could help curtail all of this cycle, inflationary cycle, is automation. And at some point, it's going to throw millions and millions of people out of a job that won't be able to get employment any longer. So what do we do then? So it's a mess. Plus, if you look at the federal budget, debt, national debt, is $34 trillion, and it's going up $1 trillion every 100 days. So that means the federal debt's going up at 365 days is 3.5 times $1 trillion. That's $3.5 trillion every year. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And what happens is, as a country, the taxpayer has to pay the national debt. And so if we're at 34 trillion now, and we're going to be adding $1 trillion every 100 days to that national debt, we're already having to service that debt. That means it's going to crowd out the budget to some point in the near future that all that our taxes pay is interest on the debt. And the government won't be able to provide services because we're paying interest on the debt. We can't get our financial house in order. At the moment that happens, we no longer have a country. We're a debtor nation. We'll float away like so many civilizations have in the past. Roman Empire, for instance. I mean, at some point, America will just fall. The empire will fall, and something else will take over. I don't know. I don't like the way things are going. So if you have any thoughts on this, leave comments in the description. I read those comments. And so, yeah. So anyway, that's the topic for today. Was the headline, $20 an hour minimum wage goes into law April 1st, 2024 in California this now. So we'll see. Stay tuned. We'll see what the impact is going forward, but it can't be good. So I guess I'll call it for today. Is we're getting on to 30 minutes. It's a beautiful day in California. Now, in California right now, at least where I'm at, let's say today, right now it's sunny and looks gorgeous outside. But earlier it was raining, which is unusual at this point in time where I'm at in the desert. So, a little bit before it was raining, it was snowing. Go figure. So wherever you are in this country or the world, I hope you have a great Saturday afternoon. The NCAA Final Four will be playing this weekend, so I know that the girls, Iowa beat UConn. So I think Alabama will be playing NC State. I'm not sure who the other one was. So I went to Alabama, so that's why I'm particular on that. Well, y'all have a great Saturday afternoon. We'll see you next week on the Table Talk Podcast with Bob Colbert. Take care, my friends. Bye.
What you do, you want to me, but I can't let it go so easily. Until I see what it could be eternity, or just a week. But now I can't steal. It's off the chain, it's working out.